But when Jesus comes to save, he saves. Jesus knows where the problem really lies. This man has become a victim of his sufferings and his pain. So Jesus deals with the problem and the demons, and he casts them out, and they are gone. Jesus asks the man, "What is your name?" The man says, "Legion." Jesus is interested in listening to this man's story, so he sits down, and Jesus is interested in listening to your story too. Now, when the man is fully clothed and in his right mind, we find him sitting, talking with Jesus, telling Jesus the story that got him to where he got to. Now, the story in Mark rolls on into another scenario. And a man named Jairus comes on the scene. His daughter, she is sick, and she is at the point of death. Jairus comes to Jesus and falls at his feet. He asks Jesus to come to his house and heal his little girl. Now, you can't imagine how that must feel. No one can unless they've lost a child. And here Jairus is pleading for the life of his little girl. She's at the point of death. And Jesus responds to him and says, "I'm happy to come with you." And he makes his way towards the house of Jairus. Now, on his way to Jairus' home, they are interrupted by a Jewish woman. Now, she is sick also. She's been bleeding for 12 years. She had been seen by many doctors. She had spent all her money trying to get well, but she was still bleeding. She had heard of Jesus Christ and all that he was doing in bringing his blessing to the multitude. So she made herself a plan to connect to him on the road. In her mind, she thought to herself, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I will get well. She found for herself a place where she could express her faith. Just touch the hem of his garment, and I will get well. Now, she touched it, and immediately her blood flow stopped, and she knew that she was well. But at the same time, Jesus felt power go out of him. Someone had touched him with faith and had drawn power out of him. And he cries out, "Who touched me?" He asks the crowd, "Who touched me?" With expectation and faith. The disciples, they say, "Hey man, look what's going on. Everything's going on. How do you mean? Who touched you?" But the woman, she knows she's been found out. She knew that she drew power out of Jesus. And the woman confesses, "It was me." Then she proceeds to tell her whole story. 12 years of suffering, 12 years of anguish, 12 years of pain, of discomfort, of humiliation. It would have taken her to tell her story a long time. Now we need to remember that Jesus is on his way to Jairus' house because his daughter was at the point of death. It was like the woman had interrupted an ambulance heading for a road traffic accident. And although this was an emergency as far as Jairus was concerned, with blue light flashing and sirens sounding, Jesus gives her his attention and he listens to her whole story. He listens to the woman's story. All the years of pain and shame. The whole story. Every detail. Because he is interested in the woman. But while he is still talking, news comes from the sick girl's house. The servants bring news to Jairus. The child is dead. The sad news that Jairus was hoping he would never hear had arrived. His child was dead. His daughter is dead. Now, if you're Jairus, you have to feel angry with the woman for delaying Jesus, for stopping him from getting to his daughter in time. Maybe you're even angry with Jesus too, because he was willing to stop and be distracted by the woman. And what does Jesus say to Jairus? Don't be afraid, only believe. He must have thought, believe what, Jesus? My child, my little girl is dead. Well, they make their way to Jairus' house, and amidst all the kerfuffle, Jesus makes his way to the room and he takes hold of the child's hand and he speaks life back into the child. And the child comes back to life. And then he gives her back to her father. And joy fills the house. Now, when Jesus listens to you, and when Jesus saves you, he gives you, through him, back to the Father. And joy fills heaven. Angels celebrate and rejoice at the glory of the salvation and the mercy that God has shown. And time again, Jesus reveals in the scriptures how willing he is to listen to people, listen to their stories of sadness and pain. And Jesus is willing to listen to your story too. And remember, if Jesus is willing, then God is willing to listen too. But you have to be willing to tell your story to him. Jesus said in Mark 2:17, it is not those who are healthy who need a physician, but those who are sick. I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners. Those who are healthy, they don't need a doctor, but those who are sick. Jesus demonstrates in these stories his willingness to listen to us, no matter what it is, emotional sickness, spiritual sickness, physical sickness, mental sickness. Jesus shows us he is interested in us enough to listen to us. And he has demonstrated that he has not only the heart and ear, but he has the power to deliver us from whatever is holding us captives, so that he can give us back to the Father who is in heaven, so that the celebration in heaven can go ahead. I started by saying, why do I like Jesus? I like Jesus because he listens to me and he listens to you. And if Jesus listens to me and Jesus listens